Hello, and welcome all to Movie Hunter, the show that tracks down the quality of all sorts of movies. My name is Hunter, and today in the 20th episode, our target is the original Muppet movie from 1979, titled The Muppet Movie, produced by ITC Entertainment and Henson Associates, and distributed by Associated Film Distribution. The Muppet Movie is the very first Muppet film and was produced during the third season of The Muppet Show and has been followed by 7 more feature films since. The principal photography began on July 5, 1978 and lasted for 87 days, with each minute of the film reportedly taking an entire day of production. The filming required much adapting throughout due to scenes such as the entire puppet being shown, Kermit the Frog riding a bike, or the puppets looking like they're driving cars. All of the sets had to be elevated 5 feet up to allow the puppeteers room to perform. The ending shot of the film shows virtually every Muppet created up to that point, including other Jim Henson productions such as Sesame Street, Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas, and The Land of Gorge, adding up more than 250 Muppets and involving 150 puppeteers. In 2009, the film was chosen for preservation in the National Film Registry by the Library of Congress, and in 2020, the song Rainbow Connection was chosen for preservation in the National Recording Registry. Also, one of the 2 pairs of 1951 Studebaker Commander coupes is currently on display in South Bend, Indiana, at the Studebaker National Museum. A 1-hour television special was aired on CBS in May of 1979 called The Muppets Go Hollywood to promote the film. The Muppet Movie released on May 31st, 1979 in the UK and on June 22nd, 1979 in the US. The film was directed by James Frawley and written by The Muppet Show writers Jerry Jewell and Jack Burns. It was produced by Jim Henson and based off of The Muppet Show by Jim Henson. The cinematography was by Isadore Manovsky, and the editing was by Christopher Greenberry. The music was by Paul Williams and Kenneth Asher, the former of whom complimented working with Jim Henson due to creative freedom he allowed. The Muppet performers were Jim Henson, Frank Oz, Jerry Nelson, Richard Hunt, Dave Goelz, and Carol Spinney. The human cast includes Charles Durning, Austin Pendleton, Scott Walker, H.B. Haggerty, Bruce Kirby, James Frawley, and Melinda Dillon. The special guest stars are Dom DeLuise, James Coburn, Madeline Kahn, Telly Savalas, Carol Kane, Paul Williams, Milton Berle, Elliot Gould, Bob Hope, Richard Pryor, Steve Martin, Mel Brooks, Cloris Leachman, Orson Welles, and Edgar Bergen. Edgar Bergen tragically dying soon after, and being Jim Henson's idol, the film was dedicated in his memory. The film made $65.2 million on a budget of $8 million, and for 32 years was the highest-grossing puppet movie until 2011's The Muppets. The film received overall positive reviews and was nominated for 10 awards, of which it won 2 of. The film opens on the Muppets gathering for the premiere of The Muppet Movie, which Kermit describes to his nephew Robin as more or less the way the Muppets got together, presumably to start the Muppet Show. The movie begins with Kermit in his swamp being approached by a lost Hollywood talent agent who encourages Kermit to go to Hollywood to become a movie star. Kermit is encouraged by the idea of making millions of people happy and sets off on his journey. He comes to a cafe with a terribly performing comedian named Fozzie Bear, who he attempts to help win back the crowd, and later invites on his trip to Hollywood. The two set out in Fozzie's Studebaker, where they encounter Doc Hopper, as well as his assistant Max, who wants to hire Kermit as the mascot to his new restaurant franchise to sell frog legs. Disgusted, Kermit refuses, and Fozzie and Kermit drive away, with Doc Hopper secretly chasing them. The duo come across an abandoned church where they meet Dr. Teeth and the Electric Mayhem, as well as their manager, Scooter, who allow them a place to rest while the band reads the screenplay for the movie to get caught up, and decide to paint the Studebaker to further evade Doc Hopper. The duo continue their journey and run into Gonzo and Camilla the chicken, literally running into them in the road, with Gonzo's car managing to flip upside down onto Fozzie's. Gonzo and his chicken join them, and they trade in their two cars for a brand new one. At the county fair, they run into Miss Piggy, who instantly falls for Kermit and goes on a date with him that night. When Piggy leaves temporarily, Kermit waits for her to return, only to receive a call from Hopper, who has kidnapped Miss Piggy to lure Kermit. Kermit is then similarly kidnapped and almost brainwashed to be the mascot for Hopper, if not for Miss Piggy's fighting skills defeating everyone in the building and saving Kermit. Miss Piggy then receives a call from her agent for a job offer and abandons Kermit. Kermit confesses his sorrows to the piano player, Ralph the dog, who accompanies them on their journey, and the five of them come across a hitchhiking Miss Piggy, who is delighted to see them and joins them once more. However, the car soon breaks down in the middle of the desert, leaving them deserted. Kermit takes a walk and expresses his disappointment in himself for bringing all these people down with him on this fruitless trip. He has a talk with himself, who tells him that he didn't disappoint anyone, he only made them believe in the dream, and Kermit says that he believes in the dream too. The Electric Mayhem, having read the rest of the screenplay, then show up with a tour bus and aid them on the rest of their trip. The group, now made of 12, are confronted by Max, Hopper's assistant, who realizes the evil things Hopper was doing and warns them that Hopper has hired an assassin to kill Kermit. Kermit tells Max to tell Hopper to meet them in the upcoming ghost town for a final showdown. Arriving before Hopper, Kermit runs into Dr. Bunsen Honeydew and his assistant Beaker, who show Kermit various inventions, including Instagrow pills. Hopper then shows up, and Kermit confronts him about his end goal, and the fact that he'll have no friends at the end of it, unlike Kermit, who may not end up successful, but at least made friends along the way. Hopper, unwilling to listen, gets ready to kill Kermit, but just then Animal bursts through a nearby house, having taken the Instagrow pills, and scares off Hopper and his crew. The group then get to Hollywood, where they are given a contract and go on to become the Muppets. There are a few different starting points you could take when talking about this film, though I suppose the one that I'll start with is the adventure that the characters go on. For road trip movies like this, it can really be quite difficult to discuss what makes one work and what makes one not work, and I think that simply comes down to the fact that it isn't really all that deep of a reason why. The reason, I suspect, for an adventure film being good or not comes down to presenting interesting things to keep things moving and having good character motivation. I'll discuss the character motivation in the next section, so for now I'll talk about the way the story progresses and whether or not I find it to be all that interesting. I think that the story progresses well for the most part and is carried heavily by its comedy and cast of characters' interactions. While this is true throughout most of the film, I can't help but think that it kinda loses this simplicity towards the end, particularly around the time that Miss Piggy and Kermit go on a date and then escape a kidnapping. This part of the film isn't necessarily bad, but it is a very strange shift in tone for me, and afterwards it resorts back to the original formula, but by that point the film is trying to wrap up and does so a bit quickly. This isn't helped by the fact that as more characters are introduced, the less individuality each character gets to have. The film overall has a really good plot progression, but it declines as it progresses. When Kermit and Fozzie are alone, the film is at its best. Then they run into the Electric Mayhem, who are nothing more than a one-time encounter at this point, so they don't distract from the film that much. Then the duo run into Gonzo, and the story is still pretty on par with the rest, but maybe ever so slightly less so. Then Miss Piggy comes along, and the film loses the plot a bit more. Ralph joins them, and the film returns to normal again. Then Miss Piggy returns, after being gone for practically no time at all. Then the 6 members of the Electric Mayhem show up, who double the size of the cast. Then Dr. Bunsen, Honeydew, and Beaker, who only served the purpose of scaring the villains. As I've hopefully made clear by this point, the film is never outright bad, but it does slowly start going downhill, especially by the end. Let me make it clear, however, that the story is still extremely fun throughout. Its jokes and comedic timing never falter, but the way in which the story progresses just starts to feel less and less natural as it continues. However, this is made significantly better by the cast of characters. The characters in this film are what really make it for me. They are really fun and charming, and a lot of the reason the Muppets continue to be such a staple in history, even with their current prolonged hiatus from the big screen. Kermit is great in this film, beginning as a humble person with little more than a banjo, who is confronted with the chance to stray from the mundane. At first he is frightened by the idea, but becomes inspired by the idea of making millions of people happy. I've always really liked that scene. Kermit confronted with the idea of wealth, fame, and spreading happiness, but only focuses on the idea of making people happy. Fozzie Bear makes a great accomplice for Kermit, with his go-with-the-flow nature and instant willingness to go with Kermit, which is always funny to me. I always like how he treats Kermit like the boss, and responds, "Yes, sir," whenever Kermit asks him to do something. The Electric Mayhem and Scooter are fun characters for their relatively short screen time. Gonzo is a really fun addition to the group. He delivers a certain amount of wackiness that Kermit and Fozzie don't already provide. Miss Piggy takes the movie in a direction that I'm not a huge fan of, but it's not necessarily bad, just not my favorite, and she still has some fun moments. I really like Ralph in this film because he randomly shows up, delivers some of the funniest lines in the film, and is just randomly in the car with them the next scene. No further information about him, no motivation to go to Hollywood, he just joins them, and that's really funny to me. Dr. Bunsen, Honeydew, and Beaker, as I mentioned, didn't really have a chance to do much, but they're still fun characters. This just isn't really a good showing of that. Overall, these characters are great, and most of them really got to show that in this film. Another great benefit of this is that each character kind of gives the movie a restart and gives life back into the film whenever the new character arrives. The Muppets are all great, really. I mean, it's part of the reason what makes them popular, after all. And everyone's got a favorite Muppet, too, which is always a great indicator of a great cast of characters. Next, I'd like to briefly discuss the villain of the film, Doc Hopper, as well as his assistant, Max. In the world of fun and wacky Muppet characters, it's really cool to see a human character who is able to match their cartoonish nature without feeling overdone or out of place. He has some funny lines, and his increase in absurdity and aggressiveness to make Kermit be the mascot for his Frog Legs restaurant is fun to watch evolve throughout the course of the film. His assistant Max, however, the writers randomly decided to put a bunch of effort into giving him a really good and well-written character arc, which is crazy to think about for such a minor character. But essentially, Max is on Hopper's side for the majority of the film, and at first he's completely on board. As Hopper goes to further extreme measures of getting Kermit on his side, however, you start to get the feeling that Max doesn't feel morally okay with being Hopper's aide. He becomes more and more hesitant to do what Hopper tells him to do, and only continues to do so with the promise of bigger and bigger paychecks. Max eventually betrays Hopper by secretly informing the Muppets on Hopper's recently hired assassin. And then, of course, the ending is really good, despite the rushed time frame. Part of what makes Hopper a really good villain is that he brings out the best in Kermit, and the final confrontation really shows that. Kermit asks him about his dream of opening up a frog leg restaurant, asking him who he's going to share it with when his dream is complete. Kermit states that his dream is to bring happiness has attracted new friends who he can share that dream with, win or lose. Hopper then brings Max out, stating that he's his friend, only for Max to reject the notion with a silent shake of the head. Kermit then states that if Hopper doesn't understand what he's talking about, or if he's not getting through to him, then he can kill him right then and there, fully putting his deepest belief on the line. Hopper, unable to understand or appreciate this, is fully ready to kill Kermit where he stands, but Kermit is saved by Animal, who takes the Instagrow pills and scares off Hopper and his crew, with Max cheering from behind. I do think that this part is a bit rushed, and their defeat is rather underwhelming, but the rest of it is good enough to not matter all that much. I was surprised to discover just how much I ended up liking the villain. He does a really good job of bringing about the best of Kermit's character, and helps him deliver a really great message about dreams and people who share them. Finally, I'd like to discuss the music. Being the Muppets, it has quite a few songs, so I'll try and rank them with some amount of speed. Also, Fozzie does a cover of the song America, which won't be included in the list, only original songs from the film, but for what it's worth, it's funny to hear him sing this. I feel to a certain degree that someone's ranking of the songs correlates to their opinion of the character singing it, as the song fits the tone of the singer pretty well. So with that said, it isn't really a surprise to see Miss Piggy's song, Never Before, Never Again, in last place. The song isn't bad necessarily, just not my specific taste, and it's also a pretty stark contrast from the other songs here. In sixth place is The Magic Store, which didn't leave much of an impression on me. The ending shot with all the Muppets together singing the song is really cool, but the song itself just wasn't all that great in my opinion. It also turns into a somewhat parody of the Rainbow Connection by the end, which is strange. In fifth place, Gonzo's song, I'm Going to Go Back There Someday. This is the point where I start really liking the songs a lot more, and this one I feel pretty bad about putting this low, but its competition is steep. Gonzo singing as the Muppets are abandoned on the side of the road is really sweet though, with some of the others joining in with their instruments being a nice addition. In fourth place, I hope that something better comes along. I'm trying not to let my bias towards Ralph the dog get the better of me here, but this song really does just encapsulate what I like about him so much. With that said, I couldn't put it up much higher because it doesn't function all too well as a song due to the talking between Kermit and Ralph. Good stuff, but I've still got dock points for that. Third place, Can You Picture That by Dr. Teeth and the Electric Mayhem. Really fun upbeat song with a funky tune and fun lyrics. Being the only song sung by the Electric Mayhem, it does its job really well at being fun. A real fun time. Second place, Fozzie and Kermit's song, Moving Right Along. Similarly, a really fun time, with Kermit and Fozzie bouncing off of each other really well with their lyrics. A really fun road trip song. And finally, in first place, has got to be The Rainbow Connection. Beautiful song with equally beautiful lyrics that's essentially become the unofficial theme song of the Muppets. The official one obviously being the actual theme song present in the Muppet Show. Overall, a really great selection of music. Not all of them are my cup of tea, but it's still really fun throughout and provide really nice additions to the film. I give the Muppet Movie an 8 out of 10 for being a really fun time from start to finish. It has its slow parts, particularly with its ending, which feels rushed, but the film has passion shining all over it, giving a great origin to the Muppet characters, and providing a great start for anyone looking to get into the Muppet franchise. Its music is great, the characters and villains are great, and for what it's worth, it manages to simply remain a fun time throughout. Definitely recommend. Welp, that's all folks. I hope you enjoyed and feel free to share any opinions you had on the movie. A new episode releases each week, so stay tuned to see which film I cover next. And in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.